Decades ago, I discovered my wife's infidelity with 5 different men, and the daughter I raised isn't biologically mine. I took complete revenge on her. Jessica Miller, Michael Carter's voice thundered from the shadows of the basement, jolting her from her afternoon coffee reverie. Come here at once. With a furrowed brow, she placed her mug in the sink. Did something topple over? Did a leak occur? As she made her way down the creaking wooden steps, the harsh glare of the solitary light bulb forced her to squint. In the distant corner, her husband lingered, enveloped by a chaotic array of half-open boxes and strewn papers. In his grasp, he cradled a diminutive tome adorned with a weathered pink cover. That had better not be my diary, she remarked, managing a laugh that didn't quite reach her eyes. She felt a sense of indifference. Her diary stretched back through the decades. Years had passed since she last opened them, and in truth, she had nearly forgotten about the majority. Yet there was an unsettling quality to Michael Carter's posture that sent a shiver down her spine. He pivoted gradually to meet her gaze. His expression transcended mere anger. It was a mixture of incredulity and revulsion. Indeed, Jessica Miller, he spoke in a hushed tone that sent chills down her spine. She swallowed. The same diary you seemingly used to maintain some rather intricate records. Michael Carter, let's go. In my youth, I often found myself crafting all manner of whimsical nonsense that it may well be inconsequential. With a tentative gesture, she extended her hand, yearning for him to simply place it in her palm. Instead, he tightened his grip. I can't shake the feeling that it's more than nothing. The way his nostrils flared as I read those words speaks volumes. Oh, Jessica Miller, what you've done to me is beyond comprehension. Her heartbeat quickened, the rhythm of her pulse resonating like a drum in her ears. Could you clarify what you mean? He opened the diary, turning to a page marked with intention. With a voice trembling with fury, he read, I wish Michael Carter would consent to marry me sooner, but I'm utterly exhausted from the wait. David Lawson brings an undeniable joy, and that particular thing David Lawson did with his, Michael Carter ceased to pursue. With a sharp exhale, he turned the page. Hold on, there's additional depth to this, and it's not solely about David Lawson. Jessica Miller felt a sinking sensation in her stomach. No doubt a whisper within her hinted that this was far more grave than the solitary sin she had long entombed in the recesses of her mind. She recalled, with a sense of nostalgia, the way she had hastily penned her dreams in that diary, blending genuine moments with flights of fancy. In her youth, she had been filled with insecurities and a touch of folly. Yet, in that moment, the act of putting it all to paper was an oddly exhilarating experience. Michael Carter, she started, striving to inject a buoyancy into her voice that was absent from her heart. This event transpired an eternity ago. Why does it even? He shouted, his voice rising, the veins in his neck straining against the tension. I have yet to complete my work. With trembling hands, he sifted through the pages, his voice barely contained as he read snippets of text at random. The memory of Ryan Mitchell pressing me against the wall last night lingers in my mind, his fingers brushing against my skin, igniting a fire within me. Once more, Michael Carter has departed, leaving me enveloped in a profound sense of solitude. Perhaps I shall allow Ryan Mitchell to visit this weekend as well. Wow, I never imagined I would find myself in a situation where I would be with more than one man in a single day. Here I find myself, starting the day with Anthony Scott and later reconnecting with Brandon Reed as the evening unfolds. The exhilaration is beyond words. At times, I find myself pondering whether my choices are indeed the correct ones. Yet I reassure myself that I am causing no harm to anyone, am I? There's no need for Michael Carter to be in the loop. I'm confident that once we tie the knot, I'll find my sense of stability. Every fresh passage felt like a blade burrowing further into the depths of Michael Carter's soul. Jessica Miller placed a quivering hand over her lips. She had overlooked the fact that these diaries held much more than merely the affair with David Lawson. She had meticulously documented a myriad of indiscretions, ranging from stolen kisses to passionate entanglements with several men. And then came the vivid fantasies. Michael Carter, she murmured, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. 3 decades have passed since then. Everything has lost its significance. With a fierce glare directed at her, he forcefully closed the diary, the sound echoing in the silence. Do they hold significance? Do you believe that reading is what you think it is? He waved the book in her direction, his hands trembling with intensity. It is of little consequence that my own wife boasts of her encounters with one man after another. She stepped back, a blend of fear transforming into a defensive bravado. She vowed that he would never witness her in her most vulnerable state again. I have transformed beyond that individual. I was naive and foolish. Were you indeed? He broke. Because you mentioned here the actions you took while we were already engaged. Oh, really, Michael Carter? She scoffed, her arms crossed defiantly. Cease your pretense that this is a novel act of treachery. It predates our entire union. It has been decades since I last laid eyes on those men. I had the right to know what I was marrying into, he bellowed, his voice reverberating through the dimly lit basement. Instead, I was led to believe that your unease stemmed solely from my impending departure for college. In the interim, you were engaging with others the instant I looked away. It occurred but a handful of times, she hissed. Yet, as the words slipped from her lips, she recalled that it was not merely a handful of instances, but rather countless times. Michael Carter cast a gaze upon her that rendered her immobile, as if time itself had come to a standstill. You have mentioned several times, perhaps you should take a moment to reflect on your own words, Jessica Miller. There are accounts of you encountering one man after another, resembling an unrestrained, self-destructive journey, and the specifics reveal he appeared almost physically unwell. Jessica Miller's expression turned steely, disbelief etched across her features. Behold, it is complete. The past remains unalterable, and his laughter echoed with emptiness. Your argument rests on the notion that it holds no weight simply because it occurred in the distant past? With a casual shrug, she summoned an air of indifference. Deep within her, a tempest of panic churned, yet she resolved to mask it completely. In the tumultuous landscape of our 20s, folly often finds its way into our choices. It's a phase to embrace and then leave behind. With a sense of nostalgia, Michael Carter pried open another box, sifting through a collection of faded photographs. And you held onto these as well. I'm beginning to suspect you take pleasure in recalling every sordid detail. She identified the box he had discovered. Filled with aged Polaroids and keepsakes she ought to have discarded long ago as he revealed the photograph. Jessica Miller felt her heart skip a beat. Who, Michael Carter inquired with a measured tone, are these men? His gaze darted back and forth between the photograph and his wife. The image captured Jessica Miller lounging on a couch, clad in a snug top, as she leaned toward a cluster of 5 guys. Each one wore a self-assured smile, with an arm casually draped around her. One of them showcased an impressive bicep, a testament to their strength. Another was signaling toward her rear. Yet the most disheartening aspect was the look on Jessica Miller's face. She appeared utterly exhilarated. She attempted to dismiss it. Oh, Michael Carter. That's merely a fleeting moment from an inconsequential gathering. It holds no significance. Yet one could not overlook the provocative essence captured in the photograph. The men shared an unmistakable intimacy with her, and Jessica Miller's hair was tousled in a manner that hinted at a night filled with untamed revelry. To crown the moment, a bold black marker had inscribed across the bottom, "The best night ever." Michael Carter's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, a silent testament to his inner turmoil. What prompted you to preserve this? His voice was a whisper, balancing precariously on the edge of despair and rage. What compels you to cling to any recollection of such a breach of our trust? She shrugged once more, yet the movement appeared feeble and somewhat jittery. I completely overlooked its existence. He released the photo from his grasp as if it seared his skin. Leave now, Michael Carter. He fixed her with an unwavering gaze. Leave now. Jessica Miller ascended the stairs with determination, tears glistening in her eyes, yet her expression contorted into a defiant scowl. This is utterly ridiculous, she murmured under her breath. It was utterly bewildering that after so many fruitful years, Michael Carter was poised to jeopardize everything over a relic of the past. What compelled him to delve into the depths of the basement in the first place? Moments later, Michael Carter appeared, clutching the open diary and a collection of photographs in his hand. "You're heading to your parents," he stated with an air of indifference. His serenity was far more chilling than the previous outbursts had ever been. "You cannot simply cast me away. I reside here as well. Not anymore. Not until I unravel the mysteries contained within this diary." He gestured with a hint of uncertainty. "Are you aware of the sheer humiliation this brings? For 3 decades, I have held on to the notion of a marriage that perhaps was a deception from the very beginning." With a dramatic roll of her eyes, she expressed her exasperation. "Oh, Michael Carter, if it were merely a fabrication, then how do we account for the richness of our lives together?" He quivered, every breath uneven. "Was it a fulfilling life, Jessica Miller? Or was it that you grew weary of deceit and concluded I was the more secure choice?" "This is precisely what I mean," she retorted sharply. "You are exaggerating the situation beyond reason. In my youth, I embraced a wild streak. It was quite the adventure. Individuals evolve." Michael Carter's lips pressed into a thin line. "Gather your belongings, or I shall take it upon myself to do so for you." Jessica Miller felt the urge to continue the debate, yet a single glance into his eyes revealed the gravity of his resolve. With a heavy heart, she turned and made her way to their bedroom. She hurriedly stuffed garments into her suitcase. The sound of his restless footsteps echoed just beyond the door. As she prepared to close her bag, her gaze fell upon a family photo resting on the nightstand. Michael Carter, along with their daughter, their son, and her. She recalled the moment it was captured. They laughed together, clad in identical sweaters, exuding an air of perfection. She grasped the photograph, shut her eyes gently, and murmured, "He will find his peace, he must." In the driveway, Michael Carter lingered at the front door, his expression as unyielding as stone. With determination, she dragged her suitcase to the car, her head held high. Before she entered, she shot him a fierce glare. "This is absurd," she declared, "and you will come to regret it." He swallowed hard, yet remained silent as she drove away. Her gaze flickered to the rearview mirror, where he stood, the diary held tightly in his grasp. In that fleeting instant, her disdain for him rivaled only the contempt she felt for her own reflection. In a small town, news travels swiftly. As Jessica Miller arrived at her parents' house, her phone buzzed incessantly with a flurry of messages from friends. He's sharing with everyone at the bar what he's read, reciting a passage from a dear friend, Rachel Foster. "How are you holding up?" Jessica Miller muttered a curse softly to herself. Thus, Michael Carter was not merely injured. He was exposing their secrets for all to see. She pushed her phone aside, feeling the sting of humiliation wash over her. She would address that matter at a later time. In their twilight years, her parents cherished Michael Carter as if he were their own flesh and blood. Expressions of disbelief washed over their faces, tinged with a hint of pallor, as Jessica Miller, teeth clenched, revealed that Michael Carter had stumbled upon ancient diaries. She refrained from delving into details, merely stating that he was overreacting to certain matters from my past, prior to our marriage. "But darling," her mother remarked, a hint of bewilderment in her voice, "if it was prior to your marriage, what could be the source of his anger?" "It's complicated," Jessica Miller muttered, reluctant to disclose the involvement of multiple men or the possibility that some of it may have coincided with the engagement. She also omitted any reference to the explicit photo featuring 5 men. She could only envision the expression on her father's face if he were to hear that. In the interim, Michael Carter found himself engaged in a video call with their grown children, sharing every detail, every nuance. In a matter of hours, Jessica Miller's daughter was inundating her phone with messages. "How could you betray Dad like that?" her daughter insisted, her voice trembling with a mix of fury and bewilderment. "Engaging in infidelity with an unknown number of men is utterly repugnant." Jessica Miller's cheeks flushed with indignation, a wave of emotion surging through her. "Mind your tone when addressing me, young lady. So now you're assuming the role of the strict matriarch? The veil of maternal instinct can no longer shield you, not in the wake of your actions." Father revealed to us those pages from the diary, having meticulously scanned them. Did you really write about being intimate with 5 different men in just 1 week while you were engaged to him? Jessica Miller's grip on her phone grew firmer. It was not, it exists outside of the context, and it occurred many decades ago. Her daughter's breath whispered through the line. You deceived him, you deceived us. Oh, mother, you have always been my guiding star. It's hard to admit, but at this moment, I find myself feeling utterly repulsed. Then silence enveloped the line. A few days later, Jessica Miller endeavored to mend the bond with her children, particularly with her daughter, who remained largely silent in their interactions. But then the ultimate revelation unfolded. One afternoon, her daughter called, her voice unsettlingly calm, almost too calm. Mom, she said, I've sent off for a DNA test. Jessica Miller stood still, the recollection of those diaries racing through her thoughts. She recalled penning her thoughts on entangling with several men just as she and Michael Carter were stepping into engagement. She recalled that timeline teetering on the edge of the moment their daughter came into being. Yet, she constantly reassured herself that it had to be Michael Carter's child. What other reason could there be for her silence on the matter with him? What are you talking about? Jessica Miller asked, her throat parched. I have long harbored a desire to undertake a straightforward DNA test, driven by my curiosity about my genealogy. However, do you realize what else it reveals, don't you? Jessica Miller nibbled at her lip. Darling, your reasoning seems a bit off. The accuracy of those at-home tests leaves much to be desired. Her daughter's voice took on a steely edge. They possess a commendable degree of accuracy. Moreover, my father consented to participate as well. We shall observe whether it aligns. Jessica Miller gently closed her eyes. Her universe was in a whirl. All right, she murmured, her voice barely rising above a whisper. Please proceed with that task. The anticipation for the results stretched on, seemingly endless. With each passing day, the torment deepened, eclipsing the pain of the one before. Jessica Miller hoped fervently that her fears were unfounded, that Michael Carter truly was the biological father. For if he were not, the outcomes arrived one afternoon, as Jessica Miller remained at her parents' abode. As the phone buzzed in her hand, she glanced at the screen, her daughter's name lighting up, and she picked up the call. Mom, came the trembling voice from the other end. It states, I am not my father's daughter. Jessica Miller's heart lay in fragments. For a fleeting moment, words eluded her, and a wave of dizziness washed over her. Indeed, it is true. How could you do this, Mom? Her daughter's voice soared, teetering on the brink of hysteria. Why whole existence is a fabrication. All this time, the man I called Dad is not truly my father. Have you ever considered? Jessica Miller released a strangled sob. I had my suspicions, yet certainty eluded me. I wondered if perhaps I was simply overanalyzing the situation. I deeply regret my actions, and I sincerely apologize. The sound of her daughter's cries reached her ears. Father is gathering his belongings. He is on the move. I find myself at a loss, unsure of the destination. He confides in me that he can no longer endure his existence in this town. He desires to move closer to his parents in Florida or perhaps somewhere similar. This requires your attention and resolution. What am I meant to do to resolve a situation like this? Jessica Miller wept, a wave of dizziness washing over her. Your father is, all that you understand about him is genuine. He holds deep affection for you. However, he is not my biological father. This transforms the entire landscape. And then the line fell silent once more. Jessica Miller made her way back to the house that had once been a shared sanctuary with Michael Carter. She experienced a tumult of emotions. Defiance coursed through her veins, humiliation weighed heavily on her heart, and terror gripped her soul, a flawless dance of unrefined feelings. As she entered the room, her gaze fell upon Michael Carter, who stood in the living room, his eyes glistening with the remnants of anger or sorrow, perhaps a blend of both. You possess quite the nerve, he remarked softly as she arrived. She flicked her hair back, adopting a stance of defiance. I require my belongings. His harsh laughter reverberated in the void. Indeed, it would be wise to gather all your belongings, as I am officially relocating. She stood still, caught in a moment of disbelief. What is to become of us? There is no us, Jessica Miller. You deceived me. You were unfaithful before we exchanged vows. You continued as if I could hardly bear to utter it aloud. And now we discover that our daughter isn't even biologically mine? A tumult of clashing feelings churned within Jessica Miller's gut. She felt an urge to resist, to assert that it was all a distant memory, too far removed to hold any significance. Yet, the DNA test had shattered the final remnants of Michael Carter's dreams. Michael Carter, she succeeded, forcing the lump down her throat and my youth. The identity of my father remained a mystery to me. I cherished you once, and my feelings remain unchanged. That is precisely why I chose to marry you rather than pursue those other suitors. Moreover, you nurtured our daughter, and that holds significant value. His eyes ignited with fury. Does it hold any significance? Goodness, Jessica Miller, you allowed me to think she belonged to me. Each night, we immerse ourselves in tales. I guided her in learning to ride a bike, and I covered her college tuition. And you lacked the decency to inform me that there was even a possibility I wasn't her father? She advanced toward him, her arms reaching out in an inviting gesture. I was safeguarding both you and her. She perceives you in the role of her father. Michael Carter gave a slight shake of his head. Protecting me, he echoed, each syllable laced with a sharp bitterness. How amusing. Are you aware of how utterly chaotic that situation is, Jessica Miller? You took it upon yourself to decide that I should remain unaware of the possibility that she may not belong to me. Congratulations, you took the reins of my existence. She reached out to him, yet he flinched away. Don't, he said. Don't even attempt it. Your return seems driven by a desire for sympathy or perhaps an attempt to restore your standing. His gaze swept across her, laced with disdain. You embody arrogance and selfishness. That much is clear. Her fury ignited. Am I perceived as arrogant? You are the one spreading this tale throughout the entire town, bringing me such humiliation. Good, he snapped, his voice rising with intensity. Humiliation is what you deserve for the deceit you spun, for transforming our existence into a mere jest. Jessica Miller's fists tightened in fury. Well, would you believe it, Michael Carter? You're hardly a paragon of virtue, broadcasting our secrets for all to see. Do you believe yourself to be above it all? He appeared on the verge of bursting, yet he compelled himself to breathe out with an unexpected tranquility. He uttered, "Depart now," yet she lingered in uncertainty. Yet, he gestured toward the door. Depart at once, or I assure you, I will not hesitate to contact the authorities and report your trespass. Her lips quivered slightly. She understood he was not merely pretending. Yet her desire to remain and continue the struggle lingered within her. With a swift pivot, she strode away, the door crashing shut in her wake. Once she settled into her car, the floodgates opened, and she wept uncontrollably. Why are you crying? She pondered within herself. You are the one responsible for this. He is correct. It was all you. In a quaint town of merely 3,600 souls. John's scandal became the centerpiece of conversation in every diner, grocery store, and coffee shop. As she ventured out to gather groceries for her parents, hushed murmurs followed her every step. Some cast her glances filled with pity, while others shot her disapproving glares. She endeavored to dismiss the whispers that surrounded her. Have you heard the latest about Jessica Miller? It appears that her daughter is not Michael Carter's. It came to my attention that she was involved with 5 different men simultaneously in the past. Allegedly, there exists a photograph, one that is utterly scandalous. A friend of my friend caught sight of it, and the story continued to unfold. On a seemingly ordinary day, she found herself eavesdropping on 2 women in the cereal aisle, their conversation swirling around the notion that Michael Carter was undoubtedly bound for Florida. While Jessica Miller was receiving her just desserts, she reached her breaking point. She deserted her cart and hurried away. Amidst the stillness of the parking lot, her phone vibrated with a sudden urgency. It was her mother, in a state of panic. Jessica Miller, please return. Michael Carter is on the line. He wishes to have a conversation with you. She hurried home, her heart racing with urgency. Could it be that Michael Carter had found a semblance of calm, allowing him to engage in rational conversation? As she entered her parents' living room, she discovered Michael Carter on speaker, the atmosphere charged with an intensity reminiscent of impending storm clouds. Jessica Miller's mother lingered near the phone, her hands twisting anxiously. "Jessica Miller," Michael Carter's voice filtered through, heavy with fatigue. "Could you do me a small kindness?" She was utterly astonished by what she heard. "Could you do me a favor?" With a heavy heart, he let out a sigh. "Indeed, I have reached my limit. Next week, I shall embark on a journey to Florida. Please sign these documents so we can proceed with the separation process." Her stomach knotted in a tumult of unease. A parting of ways? "Michael Carter, please reconsider this course of action." "Sign them," he commanded, dismissing her desperate appeal. "Otherwise, I will proceed with filing for divorce without any room for discussion, and you will receive nothing." Her parents cast each other alarmed looks. Jessica Miller pressed her palms against her temples, a wave of frustration surging within her. "Is that truly the approach you intend to take? Are you truly going to abandon me after 30 years of our shared life together?" He let out a brief, sharp laugh. "In truth, you abandoned me completely the instant you chose to betray my trust all those years ago and weave a web of deceit around it. Either sign the papers, or I will resort to more forceful measures." Jessica Miller suppressed a sharp reply, her eyes stinging with unshed tears. "Very well, please send them my way." Several weeks drifted by, marked by scant communication between them. Jessica Miller withdrew further into a suffocating darkness, dismissing the incessant phone calls from prying acquaintances. She had also received word from a trustworthy informant that Michael Carter had been seen with none other than Lauren Brooks, the former wife of David Lawson. The electrician chronicled in her diaries. The whisper of that rumor ignited a fierce blaze of jealousy and anger within her. "How could they possibly? He's following the same path I once took," she murmured, wandering restlessly around her childhood bedroom. "The sole distinction lies in his unabashed display of it, that he desires for me to endure pain." Indeed, Michael Carter possessed every justification to choose whomever he desired to see. Yet, the mere idea of him drawing near to Lauren Brooks, forging a connection over the shared sorrow inflicted by Jessica Miller and David Lawson, gnawed at Jessica Miller's very core. It was as if the universe had delivered a cruel twist of fate. Her phone buzzed softly, a notification from an unfamiliar sender. "Your actions will ultimately determine your outcomes." Lauren Brooks, Jessica Miller's gaze fixed on the text, a fiery anger simmering within her. She resolved not to engage, even as the impulse to throw her phone against the wall surged within her. Yet, she composed a response regardless. "Kindly step back. Your involvement in my marriage is unwelcome." Moments later, the reply arrived. "It no longer belongs to you, dear. He is worthy of more." Jessica Miller seethed with rage, yet she compelled herself to hold her tongue. "They may possess one another," she mused. Yet a twinge of regret tightened around her heart that I had no idea how swiftly everything could fall apart. On a chilly Sunday morning, Jessica Miller resolved to return to her home, still perceiving it as such, and confront Michael Carter one final time before he made his official move to Florida. She yearned to seek some semblance of closure, perhaps even plead with him to maintain the channels of communication. She nurtured a faint glimmer of hope that he would come to understand their connection transcended these age-old missteps. The driveway lay cluttered with a jumble of moving boxes, half-filled and awaiting their next journey. Michael Carter oversaw a friend as they worked together to load items into a rental truck. Upon catching sight of Jessica Miller's car, his demeanor shifted, revealing a steely resolve. "What brings you to this place?" He approached her before she had the chance to close her car door. The wind lashed at his hair, exposing the more profound creases etched upon his visage. Strains of tension, sorrow, perhaps disdain. She emerged, brushing aside the inquisitive gaze of Michael Carter's companion. "It is imperative that we converse, just the two of us." Michael Carter tensed, then gave a brief, sharp nod internally. As they stepped into the living room, a sense of emptiness enveloped them, the space stark and desolate without the familiar presence of furniture. Cardboard boxes adorned the walls, The couch they had shared countless moments on was already packed away in the moving truck. He folded his arms across his chest. "Express your thoughts clearly." She gulped. "Michael Carter, I beg you, I realize I made a mistake. All right? Regrettably, I must express that we have shared 3 decades together, 30 years of marriage. Surely that must hold some significance that I end my youth. I stumbled upon a series of regrettable decisions, yet I have remained steadfast and true ever since." He let out a derisive snort, as if the truth were too obvious to state. "In truth, I find myself at a loss, given how adeptly you concealed this aspect of your being." She advanced a step, dismissing his scornful tone. "Let's speak candidly. Though our daughter may not share your blood, you are the only father she has ever truly known. Her affection for you is profound, and mine mirrors hers." A muscle in Michael Carter's jaw quivered with a subtle tension. "Indeed, perhaps that should have crossed your mind prior to deceiving me for 30 years. Jessica Miller's voice trembled. "It was an error in judgment that I have transformed into someone entirely different from who I once was. Please don't discard all that we have created together." Michael Carter gazed at her intently for what felt like an eternity, then gradually shook his head in disbelief. "Once, not so long ago, I might have heeded your words, but having delved into those diaries, they feel distant now," she interrupted, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Quit pretending I betrayed you yesterday," he exclaimed, his voice rising. "It is irrelevant whether it spanned 3 decades or merely half a minute. You allowed me to think I was entering into a union with someone who embodied purity, loyalty, and honesty. All this time you've been harboring a skeleton in your closet, or perhaps a whole horde of them. Ryan Mitchell, Anthony Scott, Brandon Reed, and who knows who else lurking in the shadows. That image of the 5 men lingers in my mind, impossible to forget. For a fleeting moment, her expression contorted with shame, yet she swiftly steeled herself. Your incredibility knows no bounds. The past is immutable, Michael Carter. Precisely, he responded, his voice lowering to a near whisper. Yet, my emotions remain unalterable. Jessica Miller's facade shattered, tears cascading down her cheeks. Is that all there is? Are you really going to leave me? He inclined his head in acknowledgement. In every significant aspect, we have already severed our ties. In due time, the wheels of justice will turn and the legal process will inevitably catch up. That I find myself devoid of any compelling reason to remain in this house, this town, this state. I've reached my limit, she said, her hands coming together in a firm gesture. I kindly urge you to consider discussing the topic of therapy. Perhaps we can, but he replied, the weight of finality woven into that one word. I refuse to spend my days in uncertainty, questioning whether you have repeated your actions. Your presence conjures their image in my mind, making it impossible to see you clearly. Jessica Miller's shoulders drooped, a wave of defeat enveloping her. So, you'd prefer to escape with Lauren Brooks or whoever else has captured your attention? Michael Carter arched an eyebrow. At the very least, Lauren Brooks isn't concealing any journals brimming with hidden truths. However, that holds no significance for you. Our journey has come to an end, Jessica Miller. A surge of fury coursed through her. Engaging with her while holding contradictory beliefs makes you a hypocrite. Are you aware of that? If you can't find it in your heart to forgive my past, he interrupted, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. Oh dear, it seems you still haven't grasped the concept. This isn't a matter of me engaging in any romantic encounters. It revolves around your deep-seated betrayal, your overwhelming arrogance, and the web of lies that underpin the very essence of our marriage. If the distinction eludes you, then indeed, there is nothing more to articulate. They lingered in quietude for a heartbeat, the air thick with tension, electric and palpable. At that moment, Michael Carter's friend peeked through the front door. Excuse me, but I must interrupt. The truck is all packed up. It was time to make a move. Michael Carter acknowledged with a nod. Jessica Miller fixed her gaze on him, her eyes filled with a silent desperation. Yet he averted his gaze, snatched his coat from the ground, and exited in silence, leaving no further words behind, weeks unfurled into a tapestry of time. Michael Carter set off for Florida. Their daughter relocated to Orlando for her job. Their son remained in Atlanta. Jessica Miller found herself in the solitude of her parents' house, in the familiar confines of the small bedroom that had once been her sanctuary, now overshadowed by lingering regrets and the specter of memories long past. As the night deepened, she found herself lost in a sea of memories, her finger gliding over the screen, lingering on each snapshot of laughter shared with Michael Carter. Moments captured at barbecues, birthdays, and anniversaries. She reflected on that fateful day in the basement. Had she only taken the step to obliterate those diaries? Had she never penned those words to begin with? Yet, regrets served no purpose at this moment. Her phone chimed intermittently, primarily from longtime friends seeking the latest details on the unfolding scandal. She turned a blind eye to them, dismissing the presence of all around her. The truth loomed large, an undeniable presence that she could not escape, no matter how fervently she sought to justify or rationalize her thoughts. She is the one responsible for this. In the stillness of the night, a wild thought crossed her mind: to embark on a spontaneous journey to Florida, to arrive uninvited, to stand before Michael Carter's door and plead once more. Yet, she understood that it would only amplify the shame. The man she had cherished, the one who had nurtured a daughter he believed to be his own, had vanished, physically, emotionally, in every sense. She had lost him, and perhaps in that loss, she had also lost a piece of herself. In a moment of fleeting desperation, she reached out to her daughter through a text. "I deeply apologize, my dear. I cherish you deeply. My sincerest wish is that one day you might find it in your heart to forgive me. I would love to hear about your experiences in your new apartment." Silence lingers. Next, she reached out to her son, her voice trembling as she left a heartfelt voicemail filled with tears. "I would appreciate it if you could return my call. I understand your pain, for I feel it as well. My affection for you both surpasses all else." Silence. The stillness was overwhelming. On a brisk evening, Jessica Miller's father discovered her in the dimly lit living room, gazing into the void. He cleared his throat, a subtle prelude to the words that were about to unfold. "Jessica Miller," he began, his voice gentle and low. "This moment presents its challenges. Perhaps a face-to-face conversation with your children would be more beneficial." She nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "My calls go unanswered. I find myself utterly ostracized now." With a soft sigh, her father rested a tender hand on her shoulder. "It is essential to grasp the reasons behind their distress, particularly that of your daughter. Her sense of self lies in fragments." Jessica Miller nibbled on her lip, a subtle gesture of hesitation. "I understand, and I take full responsibility for it all. If only I had revealed the truth to Michael Carter. Perhaps we could have." She shook her head, weariness enveloping her, rendering her unable to complete the thought. Her father gazed at her, a deep sorrow carved into the lines of his face. He spoke softly. "You may have lost Michael Carter. However, strive to do everything within your power to keep your children close. If that entails allowing them to harbor their anger for a time, then you allow it. Should it require offering 1,000 apologies, one must do so without hesitation. Do not allow your pride or resentment to obstruct your path." Jessica Miller nodded, her face hidden in the shelter of her hands. "I find myself uncertain if forgiveness will ever be granted to me." He gently pressed his hand on her shoulder. "Perhaps not, yet that does not imply one should cease their efforts." As the months slipped by, Jessica Miller secured a modest part-time position at a local boutique, primarily to stave off the creeping stir-craziness that threatened to engulf her in the confines of her childhood home. She found herself immersed in the rhythm of daily life, preparing meals for her parents, tidying up the space around her, all the while seeking to stave off the profound emptiness that quietly resided within her heart. Michael Carter had departed, venturing towards Tampa, crafting a fresh existence. The most recent news she had was that he was leasing a quaint little house by the water's edge. Whispers danced through the air, suggesting that he remained in contact with Lauren Brooks. Some claimed they were merely friends. Some claimed they were lovers. Jessica Miller endeavored to suppress her feelings, yet the notion of him transitioning so effortlessly tugged at her very essence. Her children kept their distance, The sole hint of connection came in the form of sporadic messages from her daughter, curt and practical, concerning paperwork or tax documents. Her son remained silent, offering no response whatsoever. On certain nights, Jessica Miller found herself wide awake, revisiting each fragment of her history. She reflected on that group photo featuring 5 men, the moment she boasted in her diary about her escapades while Michael Carter was absent, and the day she learned of her pregnancy. Though she never truly contemplated the timeline in those days, it was all too simple to brush aside, to utter the words, "It's the past," and carry on. Yet, she now realized that certain pasts, regardless of how distant they may seem, linger on, never fully fading from memory. They reside in boxes, diaries, and old photographs tucked away in a basement, silent landmines poised to explode a lifetime later. She slipped into a fitful slumber on the worn twin bed of her youth. The faint resonance of Michael Carter's voice lingered in the air. "Your foundation for our marriage was constructed on deception." And perhaps, she mused with a tinge of resentment, perhaps he was indeed correct. Yet in her dreams, she would behold the way he once gazed at her, filled with love and trust. Their laughter danced around the room, a melody woven from shared secrets and cherished inside jokes. The manner in which they alternated driving their daughter to soccer practice. Each morning, she would rise to find her pillow dampened by tears, the ache of heartbreak still vivid and raw. Thus, existence continued, disjointed, solitary, and laden with remorse. She would eternally revisit that moment in the basement. Michael Carter clutched the diary, his eyes scanning the words she had once dismissed so easily. That instant, more than any other, dismantled the facade of an ideal union. And that tale was beyond the reach of revision.